Go ahead and get started. I don't intend to take up a lot of your time today, but as promised, I'll go over the expectations for what you're going to turn in, the deliverables. So the lecture content for today in Canvas, there's a PowerPoint of instructions, and then I will show you what those templates look like. There are templates for the proposal, the report, and the presentation. We'll start with that. Yes, we will. Okay, so there are 4 components to this thing. The proposal, and then I've got due dates. Those due dates will pop up in Canvas shortly as well. Just because I moved everything back a little bit because we got behind on the machine learning stuff. Well, we got behind way before that, but it trickled in. So the first one is the project proposal. That's going to be due next Tuesday. For that, I tried to provide as much detail as possible, trying to make this not arbitrary. So giving you some sections to fill out, basically. So I expect that you'll use these templates. Just download them. Hopefully that's not in the one that I uploaded, but I'll fix it if it is. So this is max 1 page. 50% deduction if you go over a page, and that's on purpose. Because if you are ever writing a proposal, and often they have like a 1-page specific aims or a project summary, if you go over that page, you're basically kicked out. Yeah, they don't even read the rest of your 15 pages. So if you can't follow instructions, you can't get money. All of these have page limits or time limits or both. Time for the presentations, and they're all, if you don't fall in the parameters of what's asked, then 50% deduction. Okay. And then things that I view as super important are in red, all caps, must include. Okay. So overview, significance, the first sentence needs to be a statement of your research question or your goal. Okay. And then the rest of that brief paragraph will be explaining the problem, why it matters. Don't feel like, so this is a proposal, and it's meant to be a learning process. If by next Tuesday, you should have a proposal for what your data are going to be, what your methods are going to be, like how am I going to analyze that, and then sort of the expected deliverables that you'll be able to give. If in the process of doing the project, you discover that tool doesn't work, or I need to use a different tool, that's fine, okay? And that can be included in your report. You are not constrained in terms of data and methods by what you put in the proposal, only in the question sort of topic that you're going to do. Timeline. The more detail in the timeline, I think the more helpful for you to know whether you're staying on track. Okay. But especially because this is a relatively tight timeline. You've only got about 3 to 4 weeks to get this done. I think it's a useful tool to think about, okay, what do I need to get done by week 1, week 2, week 3? And then this evaluation or success, how are you going to decide whether you completed the project, answered the question, whatever. And then this AI use reproducibility statement is meant to be about the proposal, not about the project, right? Did you use ChatGPT to generate your one-pager? Okay. Fair enough to use it as a collaboration, right? Getting it down to one page can be tricky, and ChatGPT is really good at that kind of stuff. Okay? So I'm not saying don't use it. I'm saying, like we have from the beginning, if you use it, be clear how you used it and for what. Okay? So making sure that that's included on your proposal. You need an AI use and reproducibility statement. Okay. Questions about project proposals?
When is this due again?
This is due next Tuesday by midnight. So basically giving you a little over a week to think about it, so considering we started on Tuesday. The rubric is in this set of slides, so you know how the three of us will be evaluating these project proposals. I haven't, well, I'll get there in a minute. Second component is the draft report. So now you've been working on this thing. This will be by when this is due, it's another 9 days, so a little over a week. So Thursday the 20th at midnight. The purpose of this is to show progress, get some feedback. The Word template is in Canvas. Okay. The abstract here in all bold, you don't need to have an abstract for your draft. Okay. Abstract is usually the last thing that you write. And so I'm not going to have you waste time trying to fit the abstract in or summarize before you're actually done. The intro background should mostly be able to be completed by draft time, because there shouldn't be much that changes in the background and sort of rationale. Okay, so expect this to be the most done section. Your data, so describing that, you should be into it and analyzing it now, so you should be able to summarize that. The methods that you're using. Okay, in red, most important things. All of this should be going into GitHub. You need to include a link in the methods to your GitHub repo. That README.md file gets generated when you set up a new repo. Okay. So this is sort of forcing you probably to go back to early in the semester and look back over how do I do that stuff. But this is the reproducibility aspect of doing bioinformatics and making what you do useful. So important skills to brush up on if you haven't thought about it in a while. And then for the draft only, you need to include your timeline. So, and this is, right, you can copy paste it from your proposal into this document and basically want to see where are you on your timeline. Are you keeping up? Are you on target? Okay. Results, again, for the results in the draft, just make it clear what you've gotten done. You can put in placeholders, especially that can be useful. When I'm working with my grad students on papers and things, one of the first things we do when we're thinking about how are our results and discussion gonna be written about or be presented is what are the figures that we're gonna do, okay? And so putting placeholders in for those can be helpful in terms of organization and helping you figure out what do I need to get done. Don't think there's anything. Don't need to read this to you. Just trying to highlight the most important stuff. Again, so in your GitHub repo, that AI usage file, hopefully that rings a bell. We used it week 2 or 3, I think. That file, that's where the AI usage for your project goes. So, right, I had the AI usage for the proposal. That's what did you use it for the proposal? This file is where it needs to go for the project as a whole. What did you use ChatGPT for? And then these questions, I'm going to look for answers for these. How did you verify them? So all that stuff that we talked about very early on, and how do you use AI responsibly in terms of writing tests? How are you going to validate what ChatGPT told you? Okay. The ethical privacy considerations, if you're not working with human data or proprietary data of some kind, that's probably not going to apply. But some of you will be, probably, so need to know that. And then references, formatting examples there. And then for the group projects only, you need a section 8 that explains what each person did on the project. Questions about that? Yep.
Bouncing back to the proposal, do you care about font or margins?
Arial 12 points the default. You can mess with the margins.
And then, do you want the proposal numbered in that structure, or do you want it all like synthesized together?
Either way is okay. Makes it easier. Well, let me keep. You don't have to keep the headings for the one-page proposal. I don't want to necessarily take up your space in your one page, but if I can't find it, right, let me go back to the presentation and look at the rubric here. So one of the biggest distinctions between being excellent and satisfactory, for example, is the organization often. Like, can I find it? Was it clear? If you get rid of headings are something that are super useful, especially when I'm looking at 100 of these things, okay? So if you can work the organization to make it clear without the headings, fine. If you can format the headings differently as well, just so they show up in line instead of on their own line, stuff like that. Does that answer your question?
Thank you so much.
Yeah. It's a good question because what I said about submitting proposals one day to funding agencies, a lot of times they have font and type and margin very explicit. So because when we have more to say, we're finding all kinds of ways to try to cram more words on the page. And that's often not a good thing. The reviewer, like if I see a page in Times New Roman font with 11 point and it's just a block of text, it just hurts my brain. And there's some psychology behind this too. Now I'm getting all off in the weeds about you will get a worse score if that's how your proposal looks. That's just the bias, and if you look at a block of text and you're frustrated before you start reading it, you're gonna get a worse score. Where were we before I got off on that? Draft reports, the rubrics for that are in this PowerPoint. The draft is due that Thursday, the 20th. The reason for that is on the 21st, I will assign those randomly to classmates for the third component, which is the peer review. So in the peer review, you will use that rubric to score whatever proposal you're looking at. Or not proposal, the draft report, okay? That does two things. One, it gives some feedback to whoever's report that is, but it also makes you really look at the rubric before it's time to get graded, okay? So you'll understand how I'm going to look at the final projects. And then just requiring you to give per section, right? These are the sections. Some constructive feedback, okay? And idea for how to focus that constructive feedback. That will be due the 25th. So you've got basically Friday over the weekend, all the way until that next Tuesday for the peer reviews. And the idea here is that those peer reviews will get turned around in time for you to incorporate any important feedback before things are due on December 2nd. So it's the same template for the draft versus the final report, except that for the final report, you're adding the abstract and getting rid of the timeline. I expect those to be 3 to 5 pages. Goes over 5 pages. Deductions. The presentation, 5 to 10 minutes, 6 to 10 slides. Again, depending on how many groups we have, will determine how many we can do in class. And if you prefer to do in class or just record it, the alternative to doing it in class, or if we don't have enough time to do everyone in class, will be to just record onto a PowerPoint and just turn that whole thing in. Oops, that's not it. So the template has 6 slides in it. I expect those 6 slide titles, you can dress it up however you want to, but each of the slides gives you the title and then some bullets for what I expect to go on that slide. Right, I said 6 to 10, so if you need to expand some of these, like the results, actually methods may be one where because I put the data type and the methods on one slide, it's fine, because we've got multiple different types of projects. This will be easier for some than others. Or if you need an extra slide for background and question, also okay. That's why I've given you sort of 4 extra slides if you need them. But they should all have these titles and that listed content. If there's optional stuff, it's listed as optional in here, right? If there was some aspect of your project that you didn't get to, right, you could explain where that would have gone. Don't expect any nature papers out of this, but I am kind of excited about what you guys are going to get done. Any questions? I think that's it. Got too many windows open. The rubric for the project presentations. If you have more than 10 slides or it goes over 10 minutes, 50% deduction. Questions?
Talking about, like creating those, should we double space it, even if that, creates more space? So you have to have it in one page.
Don't, guess I'm not sure I follow the question.
I guess for our proposal.
Uh-huh.
Like, you don't want the big block of text crunched up, so should we double space?
If it spills over one page, like one page is the cutoff, or if it goes over one page, deductions. The answer to avoiding a big block of text is figure out how to say it more concisely. That is the challenge. I think like when you're coming up in grade school, and even often as an undergrad, I think in non-scientific writing especially, you're sort of given a page limit, and you're getting flowery and fluffing it with words to get up to the page limit. It is exactly the opposite in almost all scientific writing. Like, you've got a word count or a page count limit, and you are at the point where, like, I can't cut anything else. It's all extremely important, and I still can't get it down. But you have to get it down. And that's usually when you hand it to somebody else who's not an expert and let them help you, because they can recognize what's important and what's not sometimes after you've sort of already squeezed all the water out of the sponge. Other questions? All right, that's it for me. Like I said, from here on out, this Tuesday, Thursday, 9:30 to 11 is basically us helping you try to get past hurdles. Okay, and that's for people listening online as well. I said this on Tuesday, but if you missed it, anybody's welcome to come to this time now to help or get help on their projects. Okay.